Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Celebrate with L.A. Williams. My name is L.A. Williams, and I am so honored and excited to bring to you this very special episode. Today, we are celebrating the one and only Mr. Douglas Lyons. Douglas,
Hello.
welcome. Thank you for celebrating with me today. How are you?
I'm well. I'm a little sleep deprived. I have a lot of things going on today. So, when you get that like 6 hour instead of the 8 hour,
I
we're
do.
at like the 6 hour at like 7:30. My
Mhm.
eyes were like, boop. And I was like, what? Why? Why are you awake right now? But part of it is excitement. So,
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here.
for
Before I
sure.
go into a slightly deeper introduction of you, I want to talk a few seconds about what Celebrate is and what it means to me, if that's okay.
Go for it.
So this series is a manifestation of a moment I had as a very young undergraduate student at Alabama State University. It was my first semester of college in the theater, and I had gone over to the building to see a production of a play called Phaedra by John Racine, directed by Professor Dr. Tommy Stewart. And it was one of those experiences where I sat there and I watched the play and I was completely taken over, right? I knew that my life was being changed. I was like, oh my God, I'm bit by the bug. And I knew I wanted to work in the theater from that moment on. But what was also incredible about that moment was that I kept feeling while watching the show this overwhelming desire to go and find everybody involved in that production and say thank you to them.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for inspiring me, encouraging me, giving me something to hope for, all the things. So that truly was the beginning of Celebrate. Cut to some years later, I'm living in New York City. This was actually 10 years ago in 2012. And I had that desire again to say thank you to the people that I had seen in shows, the different artists, but I wanted to take it to the next level, right? I wanted to sit down and create this interview platform where I could kind of talk to those folks and learn about some of their sort of transformative moments in their journey. What were some of those big moments that kind of set you on the path, that kind of thing. And
Hmm.
that was the beginning of this piece of it. And then 10 years later, 2012, now 2022, we're pulling through this pandemic, we're all surviving and thriving and doing all the things that we got to do. And
Mhm.
last fall, I said, you know what, let me go out and show up for all my people, all these wonderful artists who are bringing these shows to Broadway and beyond. I've gone to see shows in and out of town. And I'm so glad I made that decision, Douglas, because I got to see your outstanding production and play called Chicken Biscuits.
Thank you.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to sit down with as many people as possible this season and say, thank you. Thank you, Douglas. Douglas, I believe that you are one of our new great American playwrights. I
Oh,
do believe that.
thanks.
I do believe that. And I wanted to make time to say that to you and to say thank you for Chicken Biscuits. And thank you for you. And thank you for all your work. Um, and especially thank you for bringing what I find to be a beautiful, honest facet of who we are as people
Mm,
to Broadway. It is
mm.
not lost on me, brother. And I'm grateful for you. And I see you, and I feel like you see me. And I'm just so grateful for you. So I wanted to make sure I let you know that first and foremost. That is why I asked you to be here. I'm going to say thank you a million times. And I'm just so grateful that we're having this moment to sort of chit chat and just celebrate.
Thank you. You about to make me emotional. Thank you.
Mm,
Thank you. It's an honor. It's interesting with Chicken and Biscuits. I got a email yesterday from a producer who had seen it I guess 2 days before we closed, like Thanksgiving
mm,
weekend. And never met this person at all, but was like, I love the play. I want to talk about a commission. It's crazy to me that as an actor, you often are there and you see everybody who comes to the
mm,
show because you're on
mm,
stage. But
mm.
as a writer, you're not in the building. You don't know who saw the show or who didn't see the show.
That's right. Yeah.
So as I continue to meet people who have seen the play, and it always makes me feel very warm inside to know that thousands of people, felt the joy of our chapel. So thank
I
you.
love that. I love that so much. You're very welcome. Thank you. So the way I like to start these conversations off is by celebrating the day you were born. And that question or idea is meant for you to take us back as far as you possibly can to wherever you want us to go. And just sort of start with like young Douglas, the beginning, early years. It can be your birth story, it can be an early memory, and just kind of start us on the journey of how you got to this point where you are now.
I was singing as young as 3 years old
Mm,
in the church that I grew up in. My mother, I'm a PK, so my mother
mm,
is the first woman pastor in the church that I grew up in.
Mm,
And I remember singing in choir. There was this choir called the Unity Boys Choir that
mm,
Lily Perkins, she just passed, started, and it was her way of grabbing all the black young men in the community and taking them off the streets and putting them in a choir and
mm,
making sure that they were taken care of and accounted
mm,
for.
mm,
Uh, and so, yeah, I'm from New Haven, Connecticut.
mm.
I was always in church with mom, 4 or 5 times a week, prayer service, rehearsal, youth choir, adult choir, everything, just everything,
Everything.
everything. And so that's where I got my start musically.
Mm,
And then I got into dance around middle school.
mm,
I went to Betsy Ross Arts Magnet Middle School, where my mother was also the gym teacher. But I was like a dance major because it was a arts magnet.
mm,
And yeah, like got my feet wet and dance and tap and stuff like that. Not ballet, did not get
mm,
that formal training until
mm.
college.
Okay.
Went to a science business magnet school that didn't really have an arts program, but I was playing
Mm,
sports as well.
mm, mhm.
So there was like 6, 7 years where I played a lot of basketball. My father was the basketball coach in college.
I love
Um,
that.
I played soccer, I played tennis, I played 5 years of baseball. I was very well-rounded
Mm,
chocolate kid, and my
yes.
parents had me try everything. I think that's
Mm,
why I sort of transitioned into being a multi hyphenate, is because I was
mm,
raised to try
mm,
everything and like see it
mm,
through. And if you don't like it, you don't have to do it again, but try
mm.
everything.
Love that.
Um, so yeah, New Haven was the backdrop, and I got the theater bug when the national tours of Rent and Cats came through the Schubert Theater.
Mm,
And I was like, what is this thing? I'd been singing all my life and dancing, but I didn't put a name to it.
mm,
Um, and I'll never forget, there was a poster in my jazz band room in high school, and it was for the Hart School, and it said music theater dance.
mm.
And I was like, so what is this thing called? And they were like, because I thought it was just Broadway. And it's like, it's called musical theater. It's, actual profession and major. And so very late into my senior year, when all the, show choir kids had already been accepted and applied over that summer, I
Mm,
was just applying to programs. And
mm,
luckily enough, I got into the School with a little scholarship, and
mm.
yeah, the rest is history.
The rest is history.
The
I
rest is
love that.
history.
So let's talk a little bit more about New Haven as the backdrop. What I appreciate about your story is that you were so I grew up a little bit of everywhere in the Midwest and in the South. And I often, when I think about growing up in the church, I for some reason don't think of places like New Haven, Connecticut. So can you just talk a few seconds about church culture and what that's like, I guess, on the East Coast or in New England?
I
Um,
mean, I don't want to make it a monolith, but like for me, in my understanding of church, black church
mm,
is black church. I mean,
mm-hmm,
there's
mm.
Methodist, Pentecostal, Baptist. I don't get it all. I honestly do not understand it all.
Me
I ain't gonna
either.
lie to
Me
you. I
either.
don't get it.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
just home last weekend surprising my mom for her birthday,
Mm.
and they were talking about, well, because my aunt is getting like a Methodist training or something. I was like, no, she's getting AME training or something like that. I don't get it. So many letters. It's like LGBTQ,
Yeah,
AME,
exactly.
Baptist, Protestant. So, no, I mean, for me, it
Mm,
was we were Thomas Chapel Church of Christ, Disciples of Christ.
mm.
It could have been Cousins of Christ for all I know. Like, I don't know what that means exactly, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Um, but no, they were long services,
Mm,
lots of doctrine, lots of sort of
mm,
rules
mm,
and,
mm,
regimented.
mm.
But of course, there was love and music
Mhm,
and
mhm,
scripture and
mm,
community there that I
mm,
really appreciate. It
mm,
was my backdrop of music. To this day,
mm,
I will listen
mm,
to gospel music,
mm.
shouting music. I was listening to a shouting playlist yesterday on the subway. And so people looking at me, and I'm over there like this on the train.
I
Because it's
love
my
it.
roots. It's my roots,
Totally. Yeah.
and they never really leave you. So,
Never leave you.
yeah, New Haven was, it gets a bad rep sometimes because there is a bit of violence
Mm,
that happens. but also it's two ways. I'm from New Haven. They go, oh, Yale. And I go, Yale is not
New
synonymous
Haven.
with New Haven.
Mm,
I'm from
mm,
New Haven. Yale was
yeah.
in the middle, it was
Mm,
downtown, but like
mm,
it wasn't my existence. And then when I
right.
say New Haven, some people were like, ooh, she's rough. And
Mm,
I'm like, no, I never saw a gun when I was in New Haven. I never heard
mm,
gunshots, but it
mm.
happens. It does
Yeah,
happen.
of
So,
course. Yeah.
um, yeah,
I love that. I love that, Douglas. Thank you for that.
sure.
That's very clear to me. Um, were you the only child growing up, or did you have siblings, or like, yeah,
I
what
am
was the sort of structure?
biologically I am biologically the only child of my parents, but
Okay.
very young in my life, I
Mm-hmm,
was 5 or 6.
mm-hmm,
Because of the church, there was
mm-hmm,
a mother in the
mm-hmm,
church who was bringing her granddaughter to service, and this baby was like 3, 4 weeks old,
mm-hmm,
and the mother had MS, her daughter had MS, and so
mm-hmm,
very early on in those years, my mom and dad sort of took these two younger girls
mm-hmm,
in our house. And now, 25 years later, one of them has 2 kids, so I'm Uncle
mm-hmm.
Doug. I spent the
Oh,
weekend with them
nice.
kids. They got too much energy. Okay.
Too much, I can
I'm like,
imagine.
sit it down. you know
Yeah.
so I have sisters, but biologically
Mm.
speaking I am the only child, but I basically grew
Wow.
up with sisters. And now looking at the family, it's I said this to my father, it's a blended family, which I didn't
Mm.
really realize I was a part of.
Mm.
But those kids see my mother as grandma. um
I love
so
that
yeah,
so much. I really love that. And you mentioned earlier that you had gotten into the performing arts, I think in middle school, right? Or you were doing
I started dancing in middle school and going to dance
dancing. Yeah.
school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was an interesting way to express myself,
Mm.
and sort of as a hobby initially, but I really
Mm-hmm,
liked
mm,
it. You
mm,
know,
mm,
I liked it
mm-hmm,
a lot, and I liked my teachers. And again, like New Haven, there was a lot of people that poured into me, that saw something in me and were like, you should go for this. I also
mm,
participated in the NAACP AXO program. Do you know about
mm.
AXO?
I don't.
It's a high school competition
Mm,
where the NAACP sponsors people in different categories: science, dance,
mm,
um,
mm.
song, and you go and compete on a national level. So I did that for
Nice.
3 years, actually as a dancer. I never won for singing.
Hmm.
But one year I think I traveled to Texas. One year was Philadelphia. So that was a really impactful um, sort of anchor for me in high school too, to
Mm,
be like, oh, maybe this artist thing could be a thing.
mm. And that was all while going to a school for the math, the science school.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
I
it
there
wasn't.
was
Yeah.
there's ECA, which is sort of like a LaGuardia, if you will, in New
Mm,
Haven, where you do
mm-hmm,
your regular curriculum, and then you go
mm,
and do your art stuff in the afternoon. But because I was
mm,
playing basketball, it was a conflict of interest.
right. Yeah.
So I did a play at the Yale Rep when I was 12, Galileo
Mm.
Galilei. I played the
Oh, wow.
prince.
Oh,
What the prince did, I have no idea. I, I had a costume on, that's all I know. What
oh
he
my God.
said, I have no
Couldn't tell
idea.
you. Couldn't
I
tell
couldn't
you.
tell you now.
Oh my
Um,
God. That's so funny.
so that happened. And then my senior year, there was an English teacher, Kristen Granfield, who had come from another district, and she
Mm,
started a theater program.
mm,
And so my junior year, they did Little Shop, and I didn't
mm,
audition, but I would sneak into
mm,
rehearsal and watch.
mm,
She was like, "You
mm,
can be in it." I was like, "No, no, 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 no."
mm,
And then senior year, I finished. We got booted out of the quarterfinals. Like it was in March, and the next
mm.
day, I was in rehearsal to play Tony in West Side Story.
Yes, Douglas.
He was black, and he riffed. My Tony riffed. Good luck.
Come on. Listen, Douglas. Oh my God. And he riffed. My Tony riffed.
My
I
Tony riffed, and my riff next to me heard the riff. So it was a riff on a riff. Get into it.
a riff on a riff. Douglas, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm just feeling so full when I think about like what you said earlier, like you were a chocolate kid who had a pretty well-rounded experience growing up. And I guess I want to
Mhm.
just take a moment to appreciate that and celebrate the fact that like clearly there was some support for this kind of upbringing, right? Whether it was from your parents or from the community or from all of the above. And I think, I think it's important for us never to skip over moments or those kinds of things, right? Because not everybody has that. We all know that. And even those of us who work in the theater now, like myself, like I had no exposure or I even idea of you. If
Mm.
you had said musical theater to me at 16, I would have been like, I'm sorry, excuse me, what? I
Yep.
think the first time I read a play was my senior year in high school, and it was A Raisin in the Sun and Macbeth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to just celebrate the fact that clearly you had all of these amazing, as you said, well-rounded experiences.
Mm.
And would you say that was because of your parents or
Yeah, my father is instrumental. Funny enough, so 2019, the end of 2019, I remember my father saying to me, Douglas, I don't know, but I feel like something big is coming. And I was like, Black
mm.
man, what are you talking about? Prophetess Lyons, what
What are
are you
you
talking about?
talking about?
He's like, something's gonna be big. And he's like, I need you to
Mm,
listen to this song. And there's this song
mm,
called Big. And I put
mm,
it on because Chicken and Biscuits
mm,
has a gospel music playlist. I put it
mm,
on, it's the third song in it. And then Chicken and Biscuits started at Queens, and then the shutdown happened. COVID
mm,
hit.
mm,
And I after a series of interviews, I find myself up for this TV show,
mm,
and I remember the day I went on a walk for my final interview, and I came back to work out, and I'm working out in my room, and I have this poster that is actually no longer here, because I moved it, and it said, it has all these words of affirmation, like it says music and
mm,
arts and stuff, and
mm,
for the first time, I looked up and I saw the word big. It was
mm,
embedded in the poster.
mm, mm,
And I was like, okay, all right, like, all right, I guess we're vibing. I got the job, and
mm,
and then I was working in a TV writer's room, and my father was like, I
mm,
told you, this is only the beginning. And then Chicken and Biscuits
mm,
Broadway happened, so
mm,
he's always been, they've always been in my ear to say, you can do it, go
mm,
for it. And I think that
mm.
mentality is how I navigate through this business, which everybody don't
Yes,
vibe with, but I'm
that's
like,
right.
that's how I was raised. I
That's how I
I
was
was raised to believe
raised.
I can. Um,
Yeah.
so it really does come from them that, and I
Mm,
didn't know
mm.
that it was different, because this discussion of like everyone not being raised with the same support is something I've had to learn.
Yes.
You only really know
Yeah.
your own experience until you
That's all you
don't.
know. That's all you know. Yeah.
So, but no, they've been instrumental in my belief and how I navigate. And it's
Mm,
like, okay, like, why not? Why can't we?
mm,
You know?
mm. I love that.
Yeah.
And it warms my soul. It just everything you just said warms my soul and the support of it all, again, is not to be skipped over and not to be taken for granted. So thank you
Mm.
and thank you to your parents, first of all, and thank you for shouting them out and acknowledging that support. So I have a sense of what middle school and high school was like. Talk to me about what happened after high school. Did you go to college? Did you go to school for the performing arts? Like what happened? Did you leave New Haven? Did you stay in New Haven?
So I got into CCY, which is Center for Creative Youth at Wesleyan
Okay.
University.
Okay.
And I went there. I went to college at 17. I had skipped a grade.
Okay.
So the cutoff, I think, for CCY was 18. And I had that training, which was my first time really being around theater kids
Mm-hmm.
exclusively. And that was sort
Mm-hmm.
of a summer intensive. And then I
Mm-hmm.
entered as a freshman into Hart, fall of
Mm-hmm.
2004.
Right. Right.
Um, did not know, like, did not know what I was getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Fully had a first day of school outfit. Showed up to the commons, and all of my classmates were in blacks. And I went back. I had blacks because I packed them, but obviously I didn't read,
But
because I was like, I'm giving you this outfit, and I'm supposed to be giving you neutral. So I went and changed and came back. That lets you know where my brain was.
where your
Uh,
brain was.
so no, I entered Hart, and it was a wonderful program. Uh, you had a master class,
Mm,
voice coaching, voice
mm,
lesson,
mm,
ballet, ear
mm,
training, music theory, all the essentials that one needs
mm,
to be an excellent
mm,
artist.
mm,
And it was shocking at first. One thing I would tell my younger self is not just to get the grade,
mm.
but to actually absorb the work.
Yes.
Because I was
Mm,
trying to get an A instead of
mm.
really learning the ear training, right?
Yes. Yes.
But also
Ooh.
you're doing so many things.
You're
Like
doing so many
you would have
things.
a
Yeah.
8:30 to 6 dinner, and then you would be in rehearsal as an
Mm-hmm.
ASM or a spot op or
Mm-hmm.
whatever we
Mm-hmm.
didn't perform our freshman year. You don't perform as a
Mm,
freshman at heart.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you would always have rehearsal or something at
Yeah.
night. And so I really value that program.
Mm,
It it shocked me and taught me, and they invested, talk about investment. They invested in me.
mm,
I had never had
mm,
any formal theater training, and I got a little
mm,
scholarship,
yeah. Yeah.
as a newbie to the space.
Yeah.
And it was tough. There was some teachers that I have some words for, at 35. If we gonna talk about it,
We're
but there
gonna
were
talk
also some
about it.
teachers who were like, "Hey, I see something in you. Actually, come
Yeah.
to tap three. Don't do
Yeah.
tap one.
Yeah.
You're great. You ain't all that. You need to get
Yeah.
up off your heels and tap on your toe." Like, I remember all these little
Mm,
glimmers of hope that were
of
embedded
hope,
in me.
love. Come on, glimmers. Come on,
Yeah,
glimmers.
little glimmers of hope,
Just glimmers.
um, that were put in me. So between my sophomore and junior year, I booked the Rent National tour at 19.
Mm,
I've been auditioning for like 2 years, six auditions,
mm,
callbacks, and such. And
mm,
so I took a year off
mm,
and I toured with Rent as the swing for
mm.
Benny Collins and the ensemble. And that was a whole lesson of
I can
life
imagine.
and
I can imagine.
savings and
Mm,
personality,
mm, mm,
and materialism, buying
mm,
things I didn't
mm,
need just because I was
mm,
on tour and I had the money.
mm,
What?
mm, mm.
Uh, yeah, and so that was great, and then I went back to school, and that was difficult because
Mhm,
being in a jacuzzi
mhm.
in West Palm Beach is different than being in a black box telling, acting, right? It's different. It's, it's a shock.
It's a shock.
It's a shock. But I'm so glad I went back.
Mm,
Learned, it's not just learning techniques, it's learning your technique. What
mm,
works for you?
mm,
What's your entry
mhm.
point into the story, into the character, etc. And I think by the time I
Absolutely.
left, I definitely had that. And so, um, in my senior year, second semester, I was barely there. I was sort of part time because I
Mm,
did To Kill a Mockingbird at Hartford
mm,
Stage Company
mm,
with
mm,
Matthew Modine. I
mm,
played Tom Robinson. He was my Atticus. And
mm.
then I went to Boston to the Huntington Theater Company and got my equity card doing Pirates.
Wow.
Um, and in the middle of that, I had booked Dreamgirls, the
Mm,
the Apollo tour. So
wow.
yeah, I graduated very blessed and set up for this new thing
For
called,
this new thing.
yeah, theater career life.
Yes, this business. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Douglas, two things that I'm tracking. First of all, your primary background, would you say, is in music or music and dance? Not what I'm getting at is not playwriting.
Oh, I took one playwriting class in college, but again,
Mm,
just to get the grade, was not
mm-hmm.
seeing that as a
Totally.
career.
Totally.
No, I for the past 15 years have been an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I've done Broadway musicals and tours and
Mm-hmm.
regional gigs.
Mm-hmm.
No, writing was not on the radar, but then I think what is destined for us, we cannot always see.
You
And
cannot
so
always see, and it's gonna
here we
find
are.
you
Yeah,
regardless. I
it's gonna
love
find
that.
you,
It's gonna find you, and you're gonna
and you
find
either
it. Yeah.
embrace it or you miss it.
Or you miss it. Or you miss it.
And
Or
part of
you
what
have the
I'm
unfortunate circumstance of like missing it. Yeah.
yeah, part of what I'm reckoning with within myself too is like maybe acting was the entry point into something
Mm.
much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And there are better actors than I out there, and that's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but maybe I learned what I needed to learn as an actor so I can write better roles for actors.
Yeah. Yes, God. Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
that's cool too.
Yes. Yes.
And then
Absolutely.
and also the check clears a little differently in this angle too. So there's just all sorts of things where I'm like, okay,
I
all
see
right,
what that
life.
was about. I see what that was
I
about.
I
Yeah. All
see
right, life.
you. I see you though. I see this. I see this. Stripping that ego away.
That's
Stripping that
right.
ego away about like I should be,
Yes.
why am I not? It's like, okay, but wait, maybe what you wanted is not what you were destined to be.
That's
And
right.
that's okay. That's what the pandemic sort of
Stripping
shook
that
and
ego, stripping that ego away. Come on now. Teach and
yeah.
preach now. Teach and preach. And the other thing I want to just make sure for my own brain, tell us what the Heart School is. I don't want to assume that everybody knows what that is. What is it known for? Like, what is the Heart School?
It's a conservatory.
Okay.
So there's music, theater, dance. They're different, departments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Philip Boykin, who was in Once on This Island,
Oh
was an
yeah, I
opera
love.
major
Oh my
at
God, I
heart.
love Philip. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, my friend Christine Dwyer, who was
Mm,
Elphaba on the Tony Awards, the 10th
mm,
anniversary, she went to
mm,
Hart.
mm,
Um, Marin Ireland is another name.
mm,
Uh, yeah, so it's a great conservatory, and I think it's just
mm.
gotten better over the years. Like when I
Yeah.
was a freshman, there was like a sprinkle of Broadway. Now there's like
Mm,
4 alums in
mm,
Aladdin,
hmm.
you know.
And where
So it's
is
a
the Hart
conservatory.
School located?
Hartford, Connecticut.
Hartford, Connecticut, the Hart
Hmm.
School.
Hmm.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. I love that you talk about or acknowledge the fact that you were pretty set up by the time you graduated. You know, you had a lot of experience. And again, Douglas, and I know you know this, that's not the case for everyone, right? So what it
Hmm.
speaks to is just how blessed you are and have been, right? So yeah, just like let's just celebrate that too, right? Like, because not everybody gets a chance to work during the middle of their training, right? And then have the opportunity or ability to come back and finish their training. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
How divine, how divine. And you've already kind of touched on the fact that that training and all of that experience that you had acquired for all those years, 15 years you talk about, was a real setup for where you are now. And I love that. I love what you said about the actor training and the acting experience feeding your work as a writer, right? And how and just another thing that you keep saying that's so juicy is this idea that we try to make the grade, right? We try to make the grade. And that makes me think about how there are so many different ways to train to be something,
Mm.
and learn to do something, right? So you took the one play writing class and you just made the grade. You did what you needed to do.
Hmm.
But you did all these other things that was actually your education to be a playwright. Yeah.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
And I think it's so important that we remember that there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to get to a goal or to be able to do a thing. And I think your story is a little bit of a testimony about that as well.
It is. It is. And, I was texting with a friend the other day. I see myself as a vessel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, i- if I am put in a position to create work that
Mm-hmm.
employs hundreds of Black people per year,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
rather than just being employed myself,
Come on now. Come on
I'm
now.
fine with it.
Come on now. That's it.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with it. And so
Yeah.
I am grateful for the perspective to understand that if this be the path,
Mm.
let's really do it. Like
Let's
let's
really
go
do
for
it.
it.
Let's really do it
Let's really
all
do
the
it
way.
and
Yeah.
be vocal about it and take up space
Yes.
about it and not
Yes.
cower about it and not
Yes.
apologize for it,
Yes.
because this business is tricky to navigate in that one, how you are perceived. People
Mm-hmm.
don't know the hustle behind the magic and what it took. Like, have you watched the Genius documentary on Netflix, the
I have
Kanye?
not.
Watch it. Watch it, because
Okay.
what blew me away, and I was talking about this to my father for like days, is I didn't know how hard that man hustled to even be taken seriously as a rapper.
Mm.
Everyone loved him, but he would go and pitch in offices and they
Mm-hmm.
would ignore him and be like, I have a call, thank you so much, like in the middle
Mm-hmm.
of him playing his music.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So we see the finish line, but not the process. And I'm all about showing the process so that other people know they can do it too.
Yes. Yes, Douglas. That's what the inspiration is behind a big part of the inspiration behind Celebrate, right? That's why I was like, it's more than just saying thank you to y'all and to people. It's also saying, let's celebrate together the journey, that process, those steps, the cute ones and the ugly ones, right? And so
Mhm.
absolutely, we are speaking the exact same language. And I definitely am going to check out that documentary
Yeah,
because
you have
as you
to.
said, we I think, and especially because we are a part of a business where it is so glitzy and glammy and cute, right? And everybody always thinks about the lights and the fashion and the starriness of it all. But child, as you just said, it's a whole process behind the scenes. It's a whole lot of rejection. It's a whole lot of, tears and a lot of hard work and a lot of no's and a lot of, like Kanye said, being mistreated in your face and being, all kinds of different things that we can talk about. And I think where I am now personally is in a place where I'm trying to always celebrate even those moments because just like something like acting can feed your playwriting career. I think those not so cute moments can also feed us as well, right?
Completely.
So yeah, thank you for sharing all that.
Completely. It's learning. I've learned recently, I'm like, oh, that's your problem.
Exactly.
Like, oh, this ain't
Right.
got nothing to do with
Not a
me,
single thing.
and so that has been an adjustment.
Yes.
Also redefining, the season has taught me
Mm,
redefining why I write. I ask myself
mm,
3 questions.
mm-hmm,
My standard is, what do I want to say? Who
mm-hmm,
do I want to reach? And how
mm-hmm,
can I be paid to do it again?
mm-hmm. Come on now.
That's how I work.
I love
And
that.
so, in the infrastructure of what Broadway is,
Mm,
who I want to reach may not be as accessible,
mm,
but that's not going to prohibit what I say, what I want to
mm-hmm.
say.
I
And
love
so,
that.
I have to find the spaces
Mm-hmm.
where the people I want to reach are, and that may
Yeah.
not be Broadway, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
And
Yes,
that's okay. And
Douglas.
that's
And that's
different
okay.
than wanting to be successful and seen and booked in every season. That I'd rather not be in a season where people are not going
Mm-hmm.
to understand my work.
Right. Exactly.
What's the point of that?
Exactly. Absolutely. And Douglas, who are the people you want to reach? Who is that? Who is that group?
I write for Black folks, Black women, and queer people, and family and
Mm,
kids.
mm,
That is my sort of demographic and my
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
goalpost.
I love that.
So Chicken and Biscuits is Black and queer. Bo is
Mm-hmm,
queer. Polka
mm-hmm,
Dots is family. Invisible is
mm-hmm,
Black women. Um,
mm-hmm.
my pilot is queer and Black. It's so that's always sort of the worlds in which I live, and then we
I
shape the
love that.
stories to be more specific. But yeah.
I love that, Douglas. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your entry into New York, right? Like when you came here, how did you get here? Like, what was the first thing you did? Were you in a show right off? Or, I mean, just talk to me about coming to New York from wherever you were before New York and
So I'm
what breaking into that was like for you.
so again, because I was blessed enough to have Dream Girls,
Mm-hmm,
I already
mm-hmm,
had a
mm-hmm,
sort of a network of people because I was going to be working
mm-hmm,
with people. I did a reading summer of 2009, and this is important because I
mm-hmm,
graduated in 2009. It was called Becoming Tennessee, and it was at the Directors Company.
mm-hmm,
And there were 5 of us. Felicia Boswell was in the cast too. I played the
mm-hmm,
trumpet. We all played a different vocal part
mm-hmm,
or band part with our voice, and but that was in 2009, and I did that reading, and then I had a break a couple of months before we started Dreamgirls.
mm-hmm,
Dreamgirls played the US, Tokyo,
mm-hmm,
and Canada, I believe, for the next
mm-hmm,
year and 3 months.
mm-hmm,
I moved back in like January 2011. I moved to Astoria
mm-hmm,
and was auditioning, was doing a show at the Astoria Performing Arts Center called The
mm,
Human Comedy, Galt
mm,
McDermott's
mm,
other musical that wasn't here. And
mm,
in the weeks leading up to our previews, I was in callbacks for Book of Mormon.
mm,
And mind you, that final fight, because there was a final callback and there was a
mhm,
final callback.
mhm,
But between me and the other 2 gentlemen, they had
mhm,
7 Broadway shows. I
mhm,
had 0.
mm,
And I remember leaving the room, going to my phone. The music director from Dreamgirls had been called by Stephen and Remus to do a personality check, right? Because that
mhm,
happens.
mhm.
People don't know, but
Totally.
people, you can be fierce, but if you get a bad recommendation, you're not getting a job. I've
We're
seen it
not bringing
happen.
you in here.
They're
Exactly.
not in this space. And so a couple days later, I got the call that I got Book of Mormon. I did 2 previews of the Human Comedy, and then my first day of rehearsal was the Tony nominations day, May
Mm,
2nd, 2011.
mm,
Um, and there I was. And so
mm,
I did Mormon on Broadway for a year and 2 months
mm,
and overlapped for 3 weeks of rehearsal with the
mm,
first national tour.
mm, mhm,
And on that national tour, I would meet Ethan Pakchar, who would
mm.
become my musical writing partner. And we're opening our off Broadway debut tonight, Notes from Now, at the Prospect Theater Company.
I love that, Douglas. Congratulations and happy
Thank you.
opening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And
It's
just
cool.
what a beautiful, I'm so inspired and warmed by your gorgeous journey. It has
Thank
been
you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
At least the moments that you shared. And I really appreciate you sharing them. It's so gorgeous. That's amazing. Okay, cool. Let's talk chicken and biscuits for a few seconds.
Chicken and biscuits, yes.
Chicken and biscuits.
Chicken and biscuits.
What did I say? Chicken and biscuits?
No, you said it right. I just wanted to say it again.
You want to say it one more time? Listen, I want to talk a little bit about sort of the genesis of Chicken and Biscuits, but before we get into that, I just want to, because the whole point of this is to celebrate and say thank you. I thought your play was wildly funny and full of heart. And I think I specifically want to say thank you for bringing me so much joy and humor, right? I laughed, Douglas. Child, I laughed. I was like, these people are going to put me out. And then they had the nerve to put me on the front row. And I was like, oh, no, don't do this. Don't do this. And child, I was cackling the entire time. And so I think what I mainly want to say is thank you for bringing me laughter. And thank you for bringing me joy. And thank you for allowing me to see people who I know, who I partly am, and people who I love, and people who deserve to be everywhere at all times, in all spaces, not just Broadway, but everywhere. And I thought to myself while watching, somebody around here knows something about something. Somebody around here, who is Douglas? Because Douglas knows something about something. He know what I know. Yeah. Ebony Marshall Oliver knows something that I know. That woman is a genius, okay? She is a genius. Alana Bowers, Sister Girl came out and acted that part. My dear friend Devere Rogers. I thought these people know something that I know, which is that these stories matter.
Oh, yeah.
And these people matter.
Yes.
And they belong, and they are real, and this is real. Yes. And I just was so appreciative. And I will also share that I was sitting there thinking the entire time about damn time was one of my thoughts. That a play like this lands in a space like this. And I kept thinking about how grateful I was to witness this moment, but also, I'm trying to remember exactly what the thought was, but it was something around the fact that, like, yes, I'm glad that we are starting the conversation about plays like Chicken and Biscuits on Broadway. Like, I love, and people like this, you know, and the representation of our people, my people, you know, in these kinds of spaces. So anyway, that was my sort of primary thought, on top of just enjoying myself so much. And Jalen directed that thing, baby. I was like, yes, boy, you better direct. Right? I think I found him after the show and put my hands on his arms and shook him a little bit, and he was like, LA, you know. But I was again just really blown away by how much fun I had, and how you managed as a writer to give us so much heart and humor at the same time. So thank you, Douglas, and know that we see you. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. I had heard many people talking before I went to see it, of course. Oh, it was so much fun. I had so much fun. I laughed and boop, boop, boop. You know, and I wanted to make sure you know today, if you didn't know before today, we love you. We appreciate you. We celebrate you. And we are so proud of you, Douglas.
Thank you.
And we thank you for giving us chicken and biscuits. Okay. Okay. Not chicken and biscuits, but chicken and biscuits.
Chicken and biscuits.
And biscuits. I love it.
What's funny about it too is the journey. So talking about the journey. So coming back to the story of the director's company in 2009. So I was leaving Beautiful the first time, because I left twice. I was emailing with Leah Mikolas, who was the associate producer at the director's company. And I said, you know, I'm writing now. And she says, oh, I know. I've seen you on Facebook. Again, how social media can play into Journey. So I, you know, distinctly remember going into the director's company and pitching her this project Bow that we would develop and then get a bow and shot a film of, all the stuff. And while in residence at the director's company, because she gave me space, she was like, you know, we can't give you money, but we'll give you space anytime you want to be in here. And so I would go and write, have table reads, and then go do Beautiful. Like, that's how that started. Totally. And there's a picture of the first table read of Chicken and Biscuits. There were only 5 people, and it was only maybe like 10 pages. And then I would do 20 pages, and then 30. And one time, Rebecca Covington, I think she was reading Simone, she said, you have to finish this. And I was like, I know, but she's like, Douglas, you have to finish this. And I was like, okay. And I did. And I did. And so as an actor,
Mm.
almost a decade later, the same
Mhm.
institution began to
Mhm.
support my writing work.
Mhm.
And that was essential in the development.
Absolutely.
We had 4 readings in person, 1 virtually. The second was with the Queen's Theater. We
Mm.
did a reading in Manhattan, and then we went out
Mm.
to Queens. And that
Mhm.
audience was mixed
Mm.
with Latin,
Mm.
Asian, Black,
Mm. Mm.
Jewish. These 3 Jewish
Mm.
women were obsessed with it.
Mm.
And it became clear that we had something buzzing on our hands. And
Mhm.
yeah, and so, we had the Queen's Theater production shut down, unfortunately, but we did open, so that was
Mm.
encouraging, and we got some
Yeah,
footage and stuff. And I've
absolutely.
told this story many times over this season,
Mhm.
but I slid into the DMs of a Broadway producer, Hunter Arnold, at the end of 2019, and
Mm.
badgered him every 5 weeks. He
Mm.
finally read my materials during the pandemic and was like, "We need
Mm.
to talk."
Mm.
That would manifest in Chicken and Biscuits arriving on Broadway, and I was completely in shock. Like,
Mm.
I didn't want to. I stopped believing a lot of things during the pandemic
Mm.
just because the way
Mm.
the world went
Mm.
ghost.
Mm.
And so in
Mm.
April, we were actually walking on the American Buffalo set to see if we could go in it. And I couldn't
Mm.
tell anybody. I was like, okay, all right, whatever. Like, this is not real. Until it was. Until it was on
Mm.
deadline. And I was like, okay, now
Mm.
you're responsible. Now you got to do it because you
Now
said you're
you
going to
got to
do it and
do it
everybody knows
right.
about it.
It's on deadline.
It's on deadline. So yeah, I Chicken and Biscuits is a love letter to Black family, my Black family, because every Black family
Mm.
ain't the same.
Mm.
It is a love letter to the church, to young
Mhm.
Black queer boys, to
Mhm.
Black women who carry so much but need to
Mm.
release it,
Mm.
to actors who will now have principal roles on their
Mm.
resume. Do you hear me
Mm.
what I say? Do you hear me what I say?
I hear you. I hear you.
Like, when we become a
Uh,
part of the canon,
mhm.
when our work becomes a part of the canon, and
Mm.
that's why I'm like, Broadway, I love Broadway, but Broadway ain't
Mm.
it, because I don't
That
want to go to
ain't
Broadway and then the show ends and never is done again.
right. I
I'd
want people
rather
to
be in the
feel like
regions
this.
forever so that the people are
Yes.
always working.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Yes. Yes. Come on now.
And that's where
Yes.
that's what we're doing already,
We're
and
headed.
that
Yeah.
that to me, to know that Black
Mm.
actresses will walk into
Mm.
rehearsal, audition
Mm.
rooms, book that
Mm.
show and travel, get their equity weeks and come home,
Ooh.
and they get to laugh.
Mm.
They ain't got to be oppressed. They don't got to talk about white people. They just can
I know.
be.
I know. What a powerful perspective and point, Douglas. I hadn't thought about that when I would, in terms of Chicken and Biscuits, when I was sitting there, it wasn't one of the things, but you're absolutely correct. And I think somewhere deep down in my soul, sure, I did know that, like, oh, wow, this changes the game also because of everything you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you just said, Douglas. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking about now. And so
Mm.
when we talk about purpose, I'm like,
Mm.
okay, if it is my purpose to write things,
Mm.
you gonna take care of me because we good. You saying I'm good
Mm.
over here. So
Mm.
let me be this vessel so that there's
Mm.
more work for us.
Mm. Mm.
Because that's the thing you don't, when you're coming up and you're being taught at these
Mhm.
PWIs, you
Mhm.
don't understand that, like, the playwrights that they know are Lorraine and August, and that's, you can only know what you know, and I understand
Mhm.
that, but we have to
Right.
contribute to the
We have to
canon so
contribute
there
to
can
the
be
canon.
more. That's why
Mm.
this was such a historic
Mhm.
season. Like, I've
Mhm.
seen
Mhm.
Sandblasted
Mhm.
at Vineyard. I saw the Confederates
Mm.
last night. I
Yes.
saw on Sugarland. We have to uplift
We have
this
to.
community so we have
Yes.
work. I don't think people
Yes.
understand that. I think
Yeah.
it's like, what can I book? What is for me? But it's like, no, as a community, if we start uplifting the work, it becomes the standard.
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Douglas. I love that. That is a gem and a gift. And it's so effing true.
Yeah.
If we gotta hold each other up and lift each other up and think about it big picture. And
It's
I
so
think
much
that's
bigger.
it's so much bigger than just one person or just
Yeah.
booking a single job. I
Yeah.
love I love that sort of global thinking. It's so true. That resonates very deeply for me. I want to take a moment to carve out a thank you and a congratulations, more so for the fact that you are one of, I think, 7 or 8 Black playwrights to be on Broadway this past season, in this season that we're currently in. And I would be remiss if I didn't say congratulations on what is a historic moment.
Very much so. Thank you.
Let's just call it what it is. I mean, I don't think this has ever been done before in the history of the theater or American theater or Broadway. And so I just want to acknowledge the fact that you are one of those 7 extraordinary artists, because let me tell you something. Every single one of y'all are, I think I happen to know or y'all's work in some way. You know what I mean? It's just incredible. It's incredible. So how does that, congratulations. It's not even really a question. You can say what you want, but congratulations.
Thank you. It's an honor. I saw all the plays. When I tell you this was so unexpected, and I felt a little thrust into it initially, because it's not just the writing of the work. It's the advocacy for the work. It is interviews. It is press. It is
totally,
being present and promoting your work, because if people don't know you, within the system, especially as a writer, some people don't even know that I was an actor. They didn't know me at all.
Right.
Their entry to me is Chicken Biscuits. So to go to all these separate shows and hear our different voices, and they all be, a version of Blackness, is such a beautiful thing. To make friends, like Keenan and I support each other. I'm like, hey brother, you good? What you doing? What's going on? How's that deal? What we doing? We're able to root for each other.
Yeah.
And I love that. And when I think of August Wilson, and Lynn Nottage talked about this when we did a panel. She said when she started, there wasn't a community like this. And so to be a part of this moment, and it's not lost on me. I think the farther I get from it closing, the more it hits me. When I meet people who have seen the play, it still hits me, but I'm still a little in shock, like we may not get any Tony nominations. Whatever, like that's beyond me, but just to know that we are associated, that the play is within the season of that, is like, what? Are you kidding me? It's so magical. And again, if I'm thinking global, it will be a shockwave. And so this opens the door for me to write more work that I want to see, and to find the spaces that will celebrate it, Broadway or not, which will then in turn bring more work for more Black and queer people. Period. The assignment done. Out.
Oh, Douglas, I am so inspired by your beautiful and healthy and powerful perspective about all this.
Thank you.
And about this moment that we're talking about, and this moment that we are in. Thank you for sharing that. And congratulations again on being, as you so gorgeously just said, a part of this moment that is and always will be. And regardless of what happens, the magic of this moment is what it is. And
it happened.
Yeah, it happened.
Regardless of what happens, it happened. And the biscuit.
The chicken and the biscuit. Okay. Let me tell you something. I'm done with you, Douglas. I'm not going to act a fool on here with you. That's too funny. The and the biscuit. You speak into my soul. I love it so much. So listen, in the spirit of lightheartedness and fun, I'm doing this thing where I'm like, let's just ask some cute little fun questions that have nothing to do with whatever. What are some of like Douglas's favorite things, or like what's something that, like, I don't know, I guess makes you happy? Just anything fun and light that you want to share.
Podcasts. I listen to the Man Enough podcast, Fanti, and The Read religiously. It's a great way to hear things not theater. And a little shade, a little kiki, a little education, a little Blackness, a little queerness. So I love that. I watch a lot of Drag Race, because I think it's an art form in itself. Like it's fascinating to me.
Totally.
What it takes to create a look, to design, to sew, to beat, to wig, and to give presence and personality while your stuff is tucked. I think that is
If that ain't art, I don't know what is.
That's it. Okay.
That's art.
Congratulations to them and the biscuit.
And the biscuit. Okay.
I think that's
You
the
know
name of the
what?
episode.
That's definitely the episode. Celebrate and the
And the
biscuit.
biscuit.
Okay, I love that. Oh my
I'm
god,
so dead. Yeah, nature. I like being near the water, not necessarily in the water, but near it, because I'm reminded that God exists. Yeah, I like seeing shows and supporting other artists and learning. Here's the other thing I think is important. I'm a better writer because I go see people's work.
Yeah.
And I listen to what audiences do or do not respond to, and I learn from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that I love, like studying series and movies and yeah. So yeah.
I love that so much. That's beautiful. I guess I feel like I want to ask you really quickly if I don't know why this is coming to my spirit, but if there is anyone whose name you, and you don't have to do this obviously, that you'd like to speak or just celebrate or call out from your journey or from this moment. I don't know. I'm tracking something inside us talking about these, seeing other people's work and like the inspiration that comes from that, and just the 7 Black playwrights on Broadway, and just also I keep thinking about your parents and just the beautiful journey that you had. And so I guess I just want to give you the opportunity, if it's on you, to just call some names and celebrate some folks. You've already said quite a few, but I just wanted to make sure I open the space up for that moment, if it feels right.
For sure. I'm very proud of Adrienne Warren. We did Dreamgirls together. To see her, I got to see her do Tina right before she left. And she's just doing the thing that you could see, but now is real.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yes.
I'm not very close with her yet, but Dominique Moruso, I've seen Paradise Blue, I've seen Ain't Too Proud, I've seen Skeleton Crew, and I've seen The Confederates. And just to see an unapologetic Black woman dominate in her voice and not apologize for it, and to take up space gives me the courage to do the same.
Yeah.
And again, celebrating voices that are different and may say things that you do or do not agree with all around. Like, I saw Slave Play and kind of wrote a response play to it, a reactionary play to it. That to me is what art should do.
That's right. Yeah.
Whether you like it or not.
Right.
And so, yeah, I speak the names, honestly, of those hustling. I also speak the names of, I have this organization called the Next Wave Initiative, which is a scholarship program for future Black artists. And I've had some interviews today with a couple of them. There is a generation of kids who still don't feel safe and seen in their skin. And they're actively training right now. And they're not getting the tools they need to be confident in the way that I've learned to be. And so I reach out to them, and part of Next Wave is finding them and loving them and encouraging them and, investing in them, because they don't feel like they have the resources or the safety net to be seen in their fullness. Because remember, when you come into this business, there's an outline of what is. Well, to be an actor is this, to be a playwright is to, structure is this. And we don't always function on that plane.
Right. Come on now.
Because this world was not built for us.
But for us. Come on now.
So you have to be in the hands of people who understand how you're functioning, so they know how to get the best out of you. And these kids are not always given that. And so I think of them as well, which is another reason I want to write, because you got Latrice's and Simone's coming out of college.
Yes.
They're going to have the roles.
Yeah. Yes. Tell me the woman who played Latrice again.
Anya Mazel.
Yeah. Child. Anya, if you're out there, I'm sorry for grabbing you and shaking you after the show, especially during a pandemic, but sister, she wore me out. That entire cast. Anya, let's celebrate Anya, baby. She tore that thing up. You hear me? She tore it up. Anyway, thank you for, what you just said about the next wave. Thank you for shouting that out, and those young people, and finding them to love them. Yeah. Douglas, I'm about to get off this phone with you because I'm not going to do this with you today. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this today. That's
You have
beautiful.
to. Well, you have to love them, because I think of closing night of Ain't Too Proud. Dominique said, this work comes with a cost. And I think I haven't stopped to realize the cost that I've had. Like, by going and going and going and going and being and trying to hustle, you forget you are sacrificing something. There is a little bit of you, especially as an artist, where you're, the love that we feel in the room at Chicken and Biscuits is not what all the reviews reflected, right? People did not always understand. One said, literally, it was just not funny. And I was like, it may not be funny to you, but there's a whole group of people that were laughing next to you and you didn't acknowledge them, right? So there's a system at play that is also up against what we're trying to do. And it comes with a cost.
It comes with a cost.
It comes with a cost. And so the cost I'm learning, I want to make easier for those behind me, because it doesn't have to be that. And if we are in positions to make it easier for them, we have to. We have to do it. We have to. That's our responsibility.
We have to.
So that's sort of where I am ruminating right now, is how can I take care of myself, get my coin, tell my stories, but then also open up so that people are able to do the same.
Douglas, I like to wrap these interviews up with 3 sort of cute little questions that I came up with a long time ago. The first one being, what does it mean to you to be celebrated?
It's sometimes uncomfortable.
Talk about it.
But it's uncomfortable because I don't do it. Here's the thing. I like being acknowledged, but not necessarily celebrated. So, like, just don't act like I ain't there. You don't gotta like it.
You ain't gotta like it.
But I am uncomfortable with being celebrated because I feel like I am still a work in progress. But I'm learning to own it and embrace it and be grateful for it, because it's actually fuel to keep going, to write harder, to think anew. So it's an honor to be celebrated.
What or who do you celebrate?
I'm watching Abbott Elementary right now, and Quinta Brunson did that. I'm not sure if you watched the show yet.
Not yet, no.
You have to. And she started
the second person to say that.
Yeah, she started making memes on Instagram and little YouTube videos, and now she is the executive producer and star of an ABC broadcast show, and a Black woman writing the thing and starring in the thing. It ain't easy. And again, everybody want to, oh my God, I love this show now, but the journey, the cost is real. The cost of the alabaster box. You don't know the cost. And biscuit.
And biscuit. And biscuit.
So the chicken is the journey, but the cost is the and biscuit. That's what they don't see.
That's what they don't see. The and biscuit. Ooh, child, I can't. I'm done. I love it. And finally, what do you do to celebrate you?
I get massages.
Yes.
I every now and I'm not really a libation anymore. It's just not. It's too much work. I'm old. I can't. But I get massages to like decompress. That's sort of how I celebrate myself. And I'll take a vacation before I start work again. But also rest is celebration.
Yes, it is. Talk about it.
Sitting down.
Yeah.
And just being like, hey, so you did a lot and you're okay. And giving myself grace and checking in and being like, man, you are feeling okay today, and that's okay, boo. You know?
Right.
Giving myself grace is also a way to celebrate what I have done so I don't burn out.
There you go. There you go. Douglas, I celebrate you.
Thank you.
I think I speak for many. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And I think I speak for many when I say we celebrate you, and we continue to be inspired by you and lift you and hold you and love you. And we definitely have got you. And I think that's one of the things I wanted to make sure you know is that with all the like, or the whatever it is, right? You heard a little bit. You heard a little bit.
I'm here for it.
I mean, listen, you know, that we have you. We got you. I do. And I know I'm not the only person who feels that way. You are loved, brother.
Thank you.
You are important to us. And I stand by what I said earlier. You are one of our new great American playwrights, and we need you. And we are grateful for you. Yeah. And now I know I had an instinct about it. But now, after listening to your gorgeous, gorgeous, beautifully supported journey, I understand more about why you feel the way you do and why you do the work you do.
Yeah. We got to.
I'm about to. You're gonna have me. I'm so honored that you did this. Thank you for celebrating with me.
Of course. Are you kidding me? Like, here's the thing. It's like, and this is what I mean about community. It's like, let's schedule it, pop it, do it, hit it. Like
It's so
I am
easy.
never like inaccessible, you know, busy. Yeah. But like inaccessible. No. Right.
No.
And we have to create community no matter where we are.
Exactly right.
So part of me actually needed to hear what you said, because sometimes I doubt these things.
Totally. Absolutely.
And so no, of course. This is beautiful. And I just love a kiki.
I know, right? Ain't nothing like a good old kiki.
It's like a kiki and a biscuit. Like that's all you need.
And a biscuit. You know what? I'm done, Douglas. I love you. I am so glad. Thank you for this kiki and biscuit.
Kiki and biscuit.
Kiki and biscuit. We might have to do a whole nother episode just on
we actually might have to talk, because I'm thinking of starting a podcast, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Exactly. All right, let's definitely do that. Listen, Douglas, thank you so much. Love you, love you, love you. So grateful for you, and I'll see you around soon.
You will.
Awesome.
Be well.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.